Before we get started and actually launch into how the competition is going to work, I'll introduce myself briefly. My name is Amandla Oko Ambaka. I'm a joint degree student between the business school and the Kennedy School. I am very passionately Kenyan. I would tattoo it to my forehead if I could. The only passport I carry says Kenya, and I'm really excited to be here with you today. I'm a member of the executive board of the Africa Business Club as well.
Hi, my name is Morenike Moumi. I am a first-year student here at HBS and an active member of the Africa Business Club. I'm from Benin, and I'm really, really excited about this year's conference and very excited to be standing here and promoting entrepreneurship because we absolutely need strong businesses at home.
So, the way this is going to work, we have 8 finalists. They will have a total of 8 minutes to share with you. They'll speak for about 5 minutes and then take questions for the judges for about 3 minutes thereafter. Anything else I like to say? No? Are you guys ready? First up, we have Tomato Joss that operates in Nigeria.
All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Mira Mata. I'm the CEO of Tomato Joss. We are a for-profit social enterprise based in Nigeria that makes tomato paste. Azumi is your typical smallholder farmer in Nigeria. He grows maize in the rainy season and tomatoes in the dry season. But he faces a number of challenges that make it hard for him to be profitable. And these are not just challenges that Azumi faces, they're challenges faced by over 10 million smallholder farmers in Nigeria today. But where some people see challenges, we see an opportunity. So Nigeria is the largest importer of tomato paste in the world. Tomato paste at retail values is $1 billion market in Nigeria. That's the number that every entrepreneur always wants to hear. And at the same time, Nigerian farmers grow 65% of the tomatoes in West Africa. So there's a very clear supply and demand sort of gap that we're trying to fill. Our solution, Tomato Joss, is to provide a branded tomato paste product in Nigeria, which will enable farmers to increase their incomes and make more money, and will also help consumers by providing a higher quality product at the same price. How do we do that? We have a fully integrated business with 3 main business lines. So the first and the most important is the farming itself. Unlike a lot of other manufacturing with tomato paste, the cost of the tomato is 60% of the cost of production. So it's actually really important to get the farming piece right. We have a nucleus farm where we farm on our own land, and then we have a large network of outgrower farmers who we support to grow tomatoes profitably. In order to support those farmers, we have to have a very strong logistics system and transport system that gets the seedlings and the fertilizer and the chemicals out to the farmers on their farms and then brings the tomatoes back to our factory for processing. So the third piece of our business is the processing and packaging. We are making a branded tomato paste in a 70-gram sachet, which is sort of like a ketchup packet that's the size of an iPhone. That's, I guess, the best way to describe it. But it's a single-serve kind of thing. We're located in Nasarawa State in Panda, a very lovely little development area where I live in a chicken coop. And our processing facility is in Zaria in Kaduna State, about 3.5 hours away. So the management team consists of myself. I have 4 years of experience living and working in northern Nigeria doing supply chain work for HIV commodities. So I have a lot of experience traveling around, not just in the capital city or in Lagos, but actually in the real Niger. I just speak Pidgin Small. So my business partner, Shane, my co-founder, has 2 years of experience in East Africa, and he also ran his own logistics company. So trucking and logistics here is a very major theme in our business because it's really important to get those tomatoes to the factory before they sort of melt in the sun. Nigeria is really hot. The most important piece of our management team, though, is really the farming team. So Al Williams has over 4 decades of experience farming tomatoes and vegetables in tropical climates across 5 different continents, including California, where the average yield for tomatoes is 120 tons per hectare. And he's also farmed in Nigeria, where the average yield is 7 tons per hectare. So we're trying to get from 7 to 120. And he's a really key instrumental part of that process. Bala is our farm manager. He really brings a lot of the local context. He has almost 2 decades of experience farming specifically in Nigeria, and he's really running our 14-person operational team on the farm. This time last year, I was an EC at HBS. I was writing about Tomato Joss as an independent project. In 1 year's time, I've gone from writing about it to doing it. So we've done the research, we started a nursery, we have a 4.3-acre farm at this point, 2 acres of our own and 2 acres with 2 smallholder farmers. And March 9th, we're going to start processing. So it's actually a little stressful for me to be here right now because I should be back there getting ready to do the test runs. But we're doing it. We're a triple bottom line company, so in order for us to be profitable, we have to make the farmers profitable. At scale, we plan to put about $4 million of revenue back into the local economy through increased incomes of the farmers. This slide is a little bit busy. I want to just draw your attention to the fact that, yes, we're a social company, but we are going to be profitable. We're planning to be about a $20 million company by year 5 with 25% EBITDA margins. And really, the way that we achieve that is through yield. So finally, what am I asking you guys for today? Well, my flight here cost me $2,000, and I need per diem. No. We are trying to get registered as a product with NAFDAC, which is the FDA equivalent in Nigeria. The elections in Nigeria are taking place on March 28th, and so it's really important for us that we actually get expedited registration so we can get our product registered and start selling before any kind of confusion that might happen with the elections at the end of next month. So that's what we're asking for, $10,000. It'll all go directly to our NAFDAC registration process. And at this point, I will stop and ask you guys if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
In your written materials, there was a discussion of whether the packager was going to be able to have the equipment in place to accomplish a mechanized packaging operation, or whether it was going to have to be done by hand. Do you know is there an update on that?
Yes. So we ended up buying packaging equipment in Lagos, and I was able to truck it up about 2 weeks ago from Lagos to Zaria, where we're doing the processing. So right now, the group in Zaria that we've been using we're renting capacity from, did an assessment of that packaging material. They assessed that it just needed like a few ball bearings changed, but it actually would be viable to use it in for the automated packaging. So that's a part of the test run that we're going to start doing on March 9th.
Good job. You have a great sense of humor, and that's the best way to captivate the audience. You have my vote.
Thank you. That $1,000 is coming back your way. No, I'm kidding.
I have a very simple question. I saw the structure of your business, and I thought to do business in Nigeria, you need to have a local partner. And I didn't see your local partner in your chart.
Sure. So I guess, what I would say is that all of our investors are local. So we have raised $230,000 angel money, and that's through Nigerian investors, including my former boss and a lot of the large network that I was able to sort of create while I was living in Nigeria for 4 years. If you'll see on our management team right now, it only consists of a CEO and a COO. We need to bring in a CFO. We're going to need to bring a chief marketing officer as well, and those will certainly be local roles. So we are actively looking to expand the management team. Nigeria is certainly a country where you need to have local context. Mm-hmm. We've been building that so far through our management and our advisory board and our investors, but we know that that's an area where will be crucial, especially as we start to sell.
Okay, and my second question will be relaxed. The job creation factor, what are your projections?
Sure. So in terms of job creation, so far we've created 14 jobs in Panda. At scale, the factory will probably employ between 50 and 60 people, and then our plan is to work with about 2,000 farmers. So those farmers already have jobs, but they'll be increasing their incomes.
If you go back to the revenue slide, or not, what is the key driver of revenue and of profitability here? Because you guys are trying to do a lot.
Sure.
And so what is really kind of ultimately what's happening? Is this a processing business or a farming business or a logistics business?
Sure. So at the end of the day, processing is pretty plug and play. Honestly, you can do it anywhere in the world. The major driver of profitability for the processing is how cheaply can you do the energy. So tomato paste runs on steam, and so the idea is you have to be pretty large capacity to be able to justify sort of spending that kind of energy, especially in Nigeria where you're running on diesel, to be able to get a profitable product on the factory side. But as I said, 60% of the cost of tomato paste is actually coming from the tomatoes themselves. So what that means is you have to be able to produce high-yielding farms. That means that we've got to be able to have our outgrowers and ourselves achieve yields of at least 80 tons per hectare to make it profitable. And so that's what we're trying to achieve.
And we're out of time, but
Sorry.
I'm going to ask one very quick question. What percentage of your raw materials will come from your nucleus farm versus from your outgrowers? Just
Sure.
percentage.
At the end game, it's going to be about 50-50. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Right before we move to the next presentation, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to introduce our judges, without whom this wouldn't be possible. So I'm going to start on the left. Or is that the right? I get confused all the time. Brooks Washington is founder and managing partner of Roha Ventures. Roha Ventures is a biz dev company that builds industrial companies in Africa. He's also CEO of Juniper Glass Industry, a Roha-sponsored greenfield container glass company in Ethiopia. Then there's Angela Kwemo, who's founder and chair of Believe in Africa, which is a diaspora-led initiative to empower young Africans, promote our private sector. And she's also CEO of Rimson Strategies, which is a consulting firm that provides advice to multinationals about how to compete globally. And then we have Mr. Ed Brackman, who's former head and co-founder of Bain's Capital public equity investment business, Brookside Capital. He's on the board of several organizations in Africa, including the African Leadership Academy and Cape Town Youth Program. Please join me to welcome our judges. And our next presentation is going to be Amaji from Zimbabwe.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Taf from Amaji. And at Amaji, we're trying to solve a very big and complicated African problem using technology and implementing it in a simple way. When a lot of people think of African problems, they think of Ebola, they think of governance, they think of health, and they think of a lot of issues. But one of the biggest issues that's troubling Africa today is water contamination. 8 million people will die in Africa every year because of water contamination-related diseases. 100 children will die each hour. And this is a very big problem. The UN has admitted that they have failed to meet the Millennium Development Goal number 7C. So we decided to step in. We tried to look at the problem and why it is a big problem. The biggest thing for us is when you're using technology to solve a problem in Africa, it has to be simple. It's about accessibility. It's about making sure that you're addressing the problems of the common person in Africa who doesn't understand technology, who doesn't appreciate technology. So when we looked at water contamination, we realized that the problem is not that we don't have enough safe water sources. Today, Africa currently has 700,000 boreholes, but we realize that the actual problem is monitoring of those boreholes. Of the 700,000 boreholes that are deployed in Africa, 50% have gone defunct within the first 5 years. 95% have never been visited, and only 99% are monitored. And sometimes the fault is a simple valve. It's a simple issue with a technical fault, but there isn't monitoring. And because there's such a huge risk, and a low return on investment for investors, a lot of people are no longer funding water projects. This is how water testing works in Africa. So because there's 700,000 boreholes, they can't test the water source at the source like they do with tap water. Instead, they rely on random sampling. They identify random water sources. They collect samples. They return to the lab, examine the samples. They look at 4 parameters. And if any threshold is beyond the normal, they send it to a lab for further testing. If contamination is detected, they notify the government, and the chain happens again before a reaction is affected. So in this particular case, it takes 6 months to identify a contaminated water source and to react. There's a story that happened in Botswana. There was a young lady who aborted a baby. She threw the fetus in a water tank, and it took 6 months for authorities to realize what had happened. In that time, a lot of people had been exposed to the contaminated water. So we decided to find a simple way of reducing all those steps into one solution. What if we could find a way to test the water, to respond to water detection, to test the water, to respond in real time, and to notify authorities? That's exactly what we did. We created a device using simple components that are open source and that are available for everyone to use, but we combined them in a unique way, and we haven't quite seen anyone else who's doing it the same way. So what we've created is a device that tests water across 8 parameters in real time. It uses cell phone network infrastructure to communicate with the central database. When the water exceeds any one of the critical parameters, it notifies the authorities, but not before it shuts off water supply with an electronic valve, and it notifies local people that the source is suspect. The authorities will then send in a team to monitor that device. The device is a GPS locator, so it sends the GPS coordinates to the authorities so they know where exactly to look into. So we realize that with our business model, we're not focusing on the devices. We're getting money from data subscriptions. So we don't have to focus on making money on the devices, which is what our competition is doing. The devices are free to deploy. We're providing them at cost, and the non-governmental organizations have expressed interest to help us deploy them. To date, we've already received interest from UNICEF, Merck, UNESCO, and Libelium has committed to produce this device. So this device exists. We have a working prototype, and unfortunately we couldn't bring it because it's very fragile. This is a team. Myself, I'm from Zimbabwe. Said is from the Netherlands. Vishud is from Kenya. And Dirk and Fabian are from Germany. But we have one thing in common. We're all based in Africa. I was born in Africa, and they're all working in Africa.
Can you describe a little bit more about unit cost and what it'll be at the early stage of the deployment, and then where ultimately cost per unit you hope to get to?
Okay. So the cost of the prototype at this particular moment is $700. But the reason why it's that expensive is we're using existing components and parts. A lot of them are 10 times as powerful as we need them to be. So when we do build our own device, we can reduce that cost. We're expecting it to be just below $500. At the present moment, non-governmental organizations are spending between $3,000 and $6,000 to deploy a ball. So we know that if it's priced below $500, it's an affordable cost. We've talked to NGOs and they said they can afford it.
My question has nothing to do with business. Given the fact that it's a very sensitive sector, water, what is your level of accuracy for your testing? Because what's the plan B? Because I think that could be a very good argument for the marketability of your product.
Okay, so water is tested across 8 simple parameters, and there are certain thresholds which each authority is trying to monitor. Once the threshold are beyond a certain point, it is then suspect. It doesn't mean that the water is definitely contaminated, but it is risen enough for authorities to look into it. So the system that we're using is developed in Spain, and it's certified for deployment. So it's currently being used in other cities for the same applications, and it is very accurate enough to actually be deployed in some European contexts.
I have 2 questions. The first is, can you just talk a bit more about the revenue model and how exactly it works? And the second is that, it seems like for this to be successful, ultimately it requires a very strong interaction with government and very good government responsiveness, which is not always the case. Can you just talk a bit more about how you plan to deal with the government, the reliance on government, and make sure they respond?
All right. So the revenue model, perhaps if I explain how borrower deployments work in Africa. Usually it's non-governmental organizations that are based in Europe. They deploy the balls. They then hand over ownership to authorities that have to look after those balls. So government traditionally has no involvement in deciding which projects to embark on as the non-governmental organizations. What government is concerned about is finding an affordable way to monitor those water systems. So what we're offering is a solution, a notification system. We're not selling the devices, which is what our competitors are doing, and that's making it expensive. We're actually selling the service where we deploy the devices for you, and we notify you if anything happens. So this, pardon? Government pays. The authorities or the non-governmental organizations. So the incentive for authorities to pay us is they can then respond to medical issues that could otherwise be expensive. The incentive for non-governmental organizations is they can monitor the water project so that they can value the return on investment. They'll know that of the water project that they've deployed, how many are still operational, and what has the impact been like?
Thank you, everyone. Our next presentation is .com Zambia from Zambia.
I'm having trouble again.
All right, good morning, Harvard University. All right, my name is Moana Kandela, and I am the founder and managing director of Bus Tickets Zambia, a convenient and reliable way for consumers in Zambia to book and pay for their intercity bus ticket by going online, using their phone, or going to an authorized agent outlet. Let me begin by describing the status quo of the bus industry in Zambia. I'm actually going to show you a visual just to show you a typical day at Lusaka Intercity bus terminal. And I want to share with you a quote made by Adrian Silverman on our Facebook page when we made this project public. And I quote, "I have been to Lusaka Terminus, and it is horrendous." End quote. And by the way, Adrian is here. You see, bus travel in Zambia, like many other African countries, is not run by the government as a public service. It's run by private individuals who own one bus or run a fleet of buses. And this is done at noisy, chaotic stations where the only way you can get on a bus is to go there in person, pay in cash, and wait for the bus to fill up. You could be waiting for an hour or two, or you could be waiting for one day in the extreme cases. Okay? So you can imagine the hardship that creates for people in small towns or in rural areas. So it was no surprise when we went out and we started to do our market research and our validation. 100% of all consumers that we surveyed indicated they want convenient, reliable ways to be able to book their bus ticket. And they're willing to pay a premium of at least $1.50 for that convenience. So we're obviously an IT company, and that's how we went about solving it. But there are really two key aspects to our business model. The first is tackling the distribution model, which is about listening to the customer, giving them the ability to book the bus they want for the day they want, allowing them to pick the seat they want. And each distribution method, whether it's someone using a feature phone and USSD technology or going to an authorized ticket outlet, caters to different segments of the market. And from a revenue model, we earn a commission on each ticket sold and a 15-cent transaction fee. The second side is really about the bus operators, the bus management company. Anyone know how much a luxury coach actually costs in Zambia? It's actually over $500,000 per bus for one of those large Greyhound buses. But when it comes to running their operations, a lot of the bus companies are in the dark ages. Some of them are actually multi-million-dollar business, and it's all cash and it's all paper. So what do you think the challenge is with that? Okay? It's actually employee theft and the fact that they have no control systems at all. So what we did is we did two key things with the actual bus companies. The first is for their conductors, we built portable point-of-sale devices using the cellular network, where the conductor issues a digital ticket that is coded. The second, we started to build analytic systems for the bus companies. And what happens now is a manager could go in and he can track his sales in real time, run passenger manifests, and between the portable point-of-sale devices and what the conductors are selling, it's an integrated system. Let's talk about the business a little bit and why this is actually a compelling business. The first is bus travel in Zambia is a need. It's not a want. The second is we are first to market with the system. We have the competitive advantage. And as .com Zambia, we have the expertise, the brand recognition, the management team in place in the Zambian market. In fact, our e-commerce division did $800,000 in revenue last year, up from $350,000 the year before. And finally, when we look at some of the pilot partners we're working with, just two of them on one of their routes, just one, not their entire fleet, they generate over $10 million in sales. So then what is the opportunity to scale? What the bankers and the finance folks in this room are really craving for is the fact that there are actually hundreds of bus operators, not the two that we're just finishing pilot the system with. There are multiple cities across Zambia internationally. So one of the ways in which you scale is by adding more routes. And finally, you can go into other regions that have similar structures to Zambia as well, not to mention taking your existing infrastructure and adding other product lines to that, like railway tickets. All right, let me conclude by saying the following. We're about 4 weeks away from launching what I call Bus Tickets Zambia version 1.0. But you know what I'm excited about? What version 5.0 will look like a few years from now. And it's not a matter of if we get there. It's a matter of when. And with a project like this, we need to scale it relatively quickly. That's why we're out there trying to raise capital. And even the prize money from this competition will help. So I'm going to ask my fair and noble judges for one thing. Rate us highly, as well as you, the audience. Not for the business merits of this, not for the business merits, but really for the social impact that it could have, but also for the fact that it embodies the theme of today's conference and the fact that me and my team spent over 40 hours trying to get here from real subtropical Africa to this. Thank you very much. I will take questions.
So 2 questions for you. The first is, so far in your pilot, how are most customers getting onto the service? Yeah. And the second, I'll just ask them both so you can answer them back to back. The second is, sure, employee theft is an issue, but also tax avoidance is an incentive for not doing this. So how do you plan to do it?
Okay, sure. I think that there are 2 ways we're tackling this. So during our pilot, what we did is we did a couple of things. So if you see that booth over there, we actually went into areas around the city and actually set up ticketing booth as a way of introducing this concept to the market. That was sort of our way. Behind the scenes, we're working very closely with our 2 pilot partners who have come to us and have described the challenges they are having and the solutions that they are actually having. And we've actually even done some creative things. In that picture is actually what we call a free bus service, a free shuttle service, where we take people from their neighborhoods and actually ferry them to the bus station for free if they're actually moving over to the new technology. And I think in terms of tax avoidance, I think right now, pilferage is the #1 issue a lot of the bus operators are dealing with. And it is a big issue, from counterfeit tickets to the fact that if you've got, 3,000 tickets to look at, and you've got, $1 million in cash in a single week. How do you even audit? How do you even begin auditing that? And a lot of companies have actually started to go out of business, and banks have stopped doing lease financing for bus operators simply because of the fact that they don't have their ducks in a row. And that is really where we saw the opportunity. And so a lot of them have come to us and saying, my employees are stealing. They're draining fuel from the fact they're doing ghost passengers. We need to put a curb to that. What can we do for us? I think tax avoidance comes in when you actually start making a ton of money. Then you start worrying about that.
Okay, gentlemen, you can sell a future to let's give me. My first question, did you come here by bus? Okay, on the most serious note, I'm all about job creation. Yeah. Because if you have a good profitability and you can make lots of money, I don't care. Yeah. How many jobs can you create?
Okay. Well, for this particular project, there are 2 ways in which we're sort of looking at the job count. One is immediately what are we doing? So we're right now at 20 employees doing various functions on this, and they're going to be more. So, for example, as we sign up bus operators, you need to give them an account manager, partly because there's a lot of hand-holding involved as well. There's the plan we have where we actually have to build a service center around that. And then what we're doing as well is we're working with the bus operators to say, this is your operation today, this is the operation you need tomorrow, you need to go out there and hire. And I think what's great about the type of jobs we're giving, they're really the sort of jobs that the new generation of African graduates are really embracing, tech-oriented, jobs that will actually make a change for tomorrow. And I think that will continue to grow as we continue to ramp up.
Yeah, especially if you can use the same application for other products.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We actually do not have time for another question. Thank you.
Okay, so if nothing else, remember Zambia. Harvard, thank you very much.
I cannot work a tech system. I've given up. Almost halfway there. I'm going to try and not be biased in introducing our next finalist, who is from Kenya, a place near and dear to my heart, Savannah Informatics. What I do want to let you know is that there's over 60 people who applied to the NBC, and it was really difficult to pick the 8 finalists. They came from over 15 countries, over 10 different industries, but we're really excited to have Savannah from Kenya.
Is this beginning from beginning? Thank you. Dr. John Mabek from Savannah Informatics with my colleague
Paul Mutinda.
So Savannah Informatics is based out of Nairobi. We are into healthcare information and how it's exchanged between various trading partners. This is our second year. So what do we do? First of all, in Kenya, when you look at the vision for the whole country, everyone wants to improve the livelihoods of Kenyans' health. But how do they do it? First of all, they say preventative healthcare financing. Then they say great fiscal space through which efficiencies can be realized. And finally, expansion of healthcare insurance. Why? For 3 million people, only 1 million of them can afford private health insurance. The other 42 million don't have any. And the government health insurance scheme has only like about 10 million. So there's a great number of people who don't have health insurance. But why? Because it's expensive. And despite all this, we look at the administrative situation. I work as a medical doctor, and one of the things that I used to see is that patients come to me, and I have to figure out whether they're eligible, whether they have benefits, whether they need to do some co-pay, and after that you give treatment. Then you need to submit a claim to a health insurer. Finally, after 90 days, the health insurance pays you about 80% of what they were supposed to pay. Then they have no way of explaining to you when they didn't pay the 20%. In fact, what happens next time, remember to bill at 120%, since 100% of 120 can cover 20%. Then after that, you wait for them to give you a remittance advice, but most of the time it doesn't come. If you are not paid, then you have to go after the patient and tell them, oh, your insurance didn't pay. So it's a very interesting and complex situation, which creates very interesting problem in the value chain. The first one is that if you give care to a patient who has no benefits, and the patient had said they have benefits, then that's a loss for you. And there is a lot of people who defraud, say they have benefits, and then they don't have. Then the second thing is that when you submit paper claims, it's a manual, labor-intensive process. Almost every insurer has many cartons full of papers. Then you have to enter the claims into a bucket system as an insurer, do analysis, and try to settle. So the whole process is quite inefficient. So,
it may be a shock, but what you can say is that for the health insurance sector in Kenya, all the companies are making losses currently from that business. They use that business to manage their cash flow because you find that the premiums from the medical insurance take about 50% of the premium. So they just used to normalize the cash flows. But at the end of the year, you find that they are loss making. So our target for this is just actually to reduce the cost by 5%, which will put them actually into just a break-even position. You put them in that break-even position, they can be able to grow the market, employ new people, go into micro health insurance. And how we plan to do that is we plan first of all by eliminating the minor costs. For example, paper takes up about 10% of the costs. Things like frauds. There's a lot of frauds which can be caught by simple pattern. For example, matching a person. This person has been discovered in this company. So when he shifts company, you can be able to continue to track the person and let's say kick them out of the scheme and reduce. Some of the value addition to the whole industry is actually based around the healthcare data, because it's with the data you can be able to, let's say, predict diseases, use that data in pricing for the other schemes that are coming up, also for drug information, so that you can source for cheaper drugs and so on.
Finally, our business model is transaction-based. We charge 1% to the insurance, 1% to the hospital, so we make a 2% out of every claim face value. And then there's a lot of value added service. Actually, this is where we're making money currently. And then so for the insurance, we have about 80% of the market. 8% from actually a few guys, a concentrated market. The same thing with the hospital side. A few hospitals take 80% of the dollar face value from there. Think about $350 million a year industry. So we are at various phases. We're about to start commercialization. So far from our value-added service, we made about, in 2014, we made about $350,000. This year, we may make about 66 million Kenya shilling, about almost $1 million. But labor is our biggest cost. Actually, labor will always remain our biggest cost. The team, I hold the Master of Management Clinical Informatics from Duke Fikwa. The same with my other co-founder, Dr. Kilonzo, who recently left Bain to be our CEO. And Paul and Justus are our full-time technical people. We want to expand across Africa, starting with Kenya. Thank you.
In the written materials, you talked about the funding was going to be used for training some additional software engineers for rollout of new product. Just quick 60 seconds on what is the next version or next functionality you're looking to roll out.
So when you look at our product, so there we have said up there that we have an electronic data interchange, that's where we are. Then we can move with that software base to create enterprise healthcare solution, wellness softwares, and also a lot of consulting. Now, our biggest, you may be surprised, but our biggest cost is labor. To do that, we have to partner with universities to train software engineers who are interested in health informatics, all the way from that year of computer science for your program. So we have about 21 software engineers, but our full potential can only be achieved if we have about 60 software engineers. That's why we need this money so that we can revamp our software engineering internship program.
What drives volumes in the service? Is it mostly from the hospital insurer side? Is it from the customer side? Who's requesting it, and what creates the scale?
So there is a couple of hospitals over here, and what happens is that the hospitals that we partner with tend to take the largest chunk of healthcare dollars. So what happens is that the cost of service here is the biggest driver of revenue. So if 10 people go to another hospital but they're charged a cheaper price, that may not make as much money for me than if they go maybe to the most expensive hospital. Yeah.
And so then they recommend to their customer, if their patients, to use your site, and they tell the insurance companies.
No, actually, we are connected. It's a technology. So all these hospitals have their technology, all those insurers have their technology. Imagine the borderline, that's our technology, and if you're connected to us, you're connected to everyone else.
So you're basically a B2B business.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you for all these. Thank you for all these inspiring stories. Our next company is going to be ConnectAgric.
My name is Ali Jure, and this is Salomon Alolga, and we are 2 of the 5 co-founders of ConnectAgric. So last summer, I interned in Burkina Faso in Senegal with the company called Root Capital, a trade financing organization. And as an intern, my duties included finding new clients, developing pipeline, and also developing strategic investment. So because of that, I met with over 50 different agribusiness companies. And as I spoke with them, one of the main problems that occurred was the lack of access to regional and international market. At first, I thought that was maybe a problem that was specific to only one country, Senegal. And then as I spoke to more businesses in Burkina Faso, the problem became more predominant. It wasn't really issue with financing or production issue, but really accessing international and regional market. And I'm not talking about companies that are just selling raw commodities. I'm talking about successful entrepreneurs that are adding value in the agricultural industry and also creating jobs and eventually represent the future of African agriculture. Then, as an entrepreneur looking to make opportunities happen from challenges, we came up with the concept of ConnectAgric. So ConnectAgric is a platform that connects sellers of agricultural commodities in Africa with buyers from across the world. And we do that by using a web mobile platform. Sorry.
We do that by using a web mobile platform. As a player in the industry, we have a unique way to because of the nature of our organization, what we do, we vet every seller on our platform. So because of that, they have to meet specific requirements in order to be approved on our sellers network. And how does this work? We build a network of sellers, and when a buyer comes to our platform, they place an order along with specification where we want that product from. and we receive instant bid from the companies on our platform. Then we have opportunity to negotiate prices, come up to an agreement, then request sample and we trade. And we get 8% commission fees on that transaction. Since the inception of the idea, we had a couple of milestones. The recent one was the first iteration of our trading platform, and we're about a few weeks away from launching our beta test in 5 countries in West Africa, and eventually launch the full version in September of this year. Alright, so as a young startup, what we wanted to do, we are focusing on 5 countries in West Africa right now. Our goal is to be able to get feedback and learn and be able to scale. We hope to also increase to other West African countries, and hopefully we hope to expand into Eastern Africa and into Southern Africa as well. So as you can see, this is a really great opportunity and a business potential for us, and we've been able to give a snapshot of just being able to identify the market. If you look at it, we want to be able to start our seller base of 250 right now to about 4,000 sellers network in the next 5 years. And then if you look at revenue-wise, we expect about 40 this year and about 1.5 million in the years following. If you want to translate this to net revenue, our estimate is that, of course, we'll start with net loss as a regular company, and then once we grow, we expect to break in $500,000. This is conservative estimations for our company right now. So I just want to go right ahead and tell you about our team. We're very young African entrepreneurs. We have training from schools such as Bouvet College and the University of Rochester. We've also interned at companies such as IBM and Wood Capital. And over the years, we've worked on projects. We've worked as a team. We've been able to take projects from idea stage and take it to the business stage. And we think that this is a problem that Africa faces, and then we're trying to solve it. And we strongly believe that we'll be able to take this to the next stage. And then we just want to invite all of you to join us so that we can be able to solve this problem. Thank you.
What is your approach on customer acquisition in terms of how are these buyers going to identify this network as a place to source?
Great. We established, we have an application process for the sellers on the platform, and we do due diligence in where we select qualified sellers on the platform. But one of the main key selection process is impact creation and the potential to create long-term job creation in Africa.
But on the buyer side, how are buyers going to identify this network?
Yes, this is why we put it out in slow up to this point. We have a network of buyers already existing. We already talked to some buyers that are existing that are willing to be our partners. So we start to do a lot of marketing. We plan to start with the US at this point and to roll out in Europe and Asia in the next 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a great work and a great idea. I have 2 questions. How do you cope with the competition? Because I think this may be the 5th agricultural portal I'm seeing. And we know that you always have big competitors like Alibaba and all the big ones. That's number 1. Number 2, how do you help your sellers meet the international market? Having access to the market is not always a problem, but meeting the standard is a big challenge.
Yeah, so like we talked about our selection, just answer your first question about the standards. That's where we have a vigorous application process. So what we're trying to do is we're not just only collecting these buyers and sellers out, but we're actually letting them build a brand for themselves. So what we do is we learn everything about the value chain process. That's why we have to do the due diligence on them, and it's all free. That way, when we present it to a buyer, they're much confident about what we've done, and then the brand will build for this network of sellers on our platform. And to talk about the competition, Alibaba is definitely our big competitor right now. But if you look at Alibaba, I can quite assure that the sellers in Alibaba in Africa are not well branded. They don't understand the market, and they haven't really gone into recognizing African sellers and how African can really be very good for to our platform. So what we've done is we want to brand these sellers out there, let them know that this is Africa, and then we'll be able to scale it out from there. And I think that our key competitive advantage is our ability to care hopefully have a personal relationship with our sellers as opposed to just having people sign up and be able to use our platform and not necessarily make any sales.
Can you go back to the growth chart? Yeah, so what size are the transactions, both in terms of value, or the average value size, and kind of tonnage or units or whatever the relevant metric is?
Sure. Our minimum transaction is 10,000 for minimum transaction. So what we've done, our estimation for the first 2 years was really based on that minimum transaction. But from my experience working in that industry, really the minimum transaction that happen in that industry is from 50,000 to millions of dollars. Sure, yeah, the international standard. One of our requirements to go back first, because this is a startup, we just don't want to work with sellers who don't have the experience in the international market. So working with people or sellers that are already built a reputation track record, and then the next couple of years will be working with new sellers.
Okay. I have one update, and then we will welcome a team that we're going back west to Ghana. The way we're going to do, because we've had people coming in and out of the room, we're going to need to change how we do the crowd favorite. So one request is to please stay to make sure that you see all 8 people. We're halfway through. So you can actually vote with your feet in a way that makes sense. What we're going to have to do is actually, the top 3, as decided by the judges from here, are going to pitch again when we go to Burden from 4:30 till 6, so that everybody can get a chance to see what they're doing. But in order for us to have informed opinions, we request that you stay until you get to see everyone. Many of them have come from very, 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 very far away to be here with us today. So, Ajuma from Ghana.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here. I actually flew from Santiago, Chile to this place. The whole thing about Ejuma is creating jobs and opportunity for African youth. Ejuma is an online marketplace which allows employers to find, hire, and pay African freelancers. Meet Tony. He is a freelance developer in Ghana. These are beautiful app concepts that Tony has developed for future clients. But guess what? Tony can't find work because there isn't any platform where freelancers in Africa can't find work. Also, even if he hustles and he finds a client, receiving payments is a real hustle. There are so many freelancers like Tony all over Africa, and I guess some of you can identify with that. And I mean, just imagine how hard it is to have so many skills, but you can't make a living off it. Really, really painful. So we also realize that so many SMEs in Africa are not able to find freelancers to do their work for them to grow their business. Fast internet and mobile payments really inspired us to come out with Ejuma. With Ejuma, you can now see Tony's profile, his ratings, his reviews, and his portfolio. Employers can simply click Hire Me to just hire Tony and communicate with him. Tony can just go to our website and easily see the list of jobs on our site. We have a workroom where employers can chat with Tony and send files and make payments to Tony. We've integrated Stripe, PayPal, and we are currently integrating mobile money platforms. So when Tony finishes work, we simply pay Tony on his mobile device anywhere in Africa or his local bank accounts. We make money, of course, by taking commissions. We also need to survive, So, but when we recommend freelancers, we take 15% cut. We are targeting mainly SMEs in Africa because we believe that the future of work is freelancing, and they can develop and they can get more tax done and grow quickly with freelance work. The total addressable market is $5 billion. We are looking mainly at email invites for freelancers. But with the jobs, we've been working at contacting co-working spaces and accelerators all over the world to get works to our site. We also hope to start online marketing. Of course, we need the 10K today in order to start some online marketing and boost our marketing efforts to push the product, to get more jobs for our freelancers. Over the last 2 months, we've paid out $10,000 to freelancers on our site, and we've made revenues of about $1,500. We have about $18,000 worth of jobs on our site currently. Most of them are design, tech, website, logo, writing jobs. So last 4 months, we were chosen as part of top 100 teams in the world to participate in Startup Chile, and they gave us $40K. We used that to build our MVP to get things off the ground. We hope to reach $50,000 worth of jobs in March, and we hope that you can help us get the 10K so that we can start some online marketing to bring more jobs to our site. I'm excited to launch Ejuma Recruit right now here. If you have an idea but you don't know how to code or program, just post it on our site and we'll help you find a tech team, a developer, a designer, or a writer to bring that into reality. I'm sure most of you have like brilliant ideas that you want to bring to fruition. So you can even go on your phone, just click Ejuma Recruit and post that job. We are going to help you find people to get it done. So this whole project relies on quality work. I mean, if our freelancers are not delivering quality work, we are not going to succeed. So we have reviews and rating systems to ensure that the freelancers always keep to their word, and also the employers also keep to their word as well. Also, big sites like Elance, Freelancer, when they decide to come into Africa, it will be a huge problem for us. So our strategy is to grow very fast and also create enough value so that when they decide to come to Africa, they will have no option but to acquire us. So, thank you very much. So the team is made up of Daniel, a full stack developer, John Paul, you can see his haircut, he's a designer, and myself. We are currently in the Startup Chile program. I mean, we've left our families, we flew to Startup Chile in Santiago to make a sacrifice to make sure that work comes to Africa and African youth get employment. We built Freelance Pro and Conversion Pro in the past and want to use that experience to make Ejuma a successful one. We believe Ejuma can help millions of freelancers like Tony find work, and with your help, we can achieve this. When you talk about wealth in Africa, people talk about natural resources, gold, diamond, but I mean, for us, we believe that Africa's greatest resource is its youth, its human resource. That is you and I, and that is why we are doing Ejuma. Thank you very much.
Earlier today on another panel, we heard about there's a lot of skepticism on the continent right now about prepaying for things because for products, because you might not actually get what you paid for. And I think that the same can happen in reverse about pre-doing work for things that you might actually not get paid for in the end. And so how do you plan to deal with that, and do you have any ideas?
Thank you. So with our system, we have a work room. So when the whole system works like this, when you post a job, freelancers bid for the job, and you select the best bid. Now, before the freelancer starts work, you pay a deposit to ensure that, so that the freelancer doesn't start work and you dodge. So you pay a deposit, and then when the freelancer finishes work and you are happy, it's divided into milestones. So as he completes work, then we release the money to the freelancer. So we keep the money until the freelancer finishes work, and then we release it in milestones as they go. It's all coded in our workroom. Yeah.
Okay, Richard, it looks to me that you want to build that network, before you get acquired by somebody else. But now, how do you recruit your freelancer? How much time do you spend on Richard to make sure he's really able to perform?
Yes. So
numbers and just want to build your volume. I think it would be really challenging.
Yes. So that's a lot of questions that's something we've been receiving a lot. So we decided to go the safe way, and we are currently doing this by inviting and reaching out to co-working spaces, accelerators in Africa, and also LinkedIn groups, professionals, and people in other African countries that we know. We want to establish that reputation first, and then we can scale it up from there. Also, we have an interview process. If you sign up, we send you Skype messages, and then we have interviews with you to ensure that you have the skills that you say you have. If you don't have the skills, we are developers ourselves. We've done freelancing. We have a network to connect you to somebody that can help you get the skills, or we can recommend websites where you can learn further skills to enhance your knowledge. Yeah.
Your freelancers are 100% African?
Yes, 100% African. Yeah. We have 365 freelancers from 6 African countries currently.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was funny on top of it. Our next company is Revision Prep for Ghana. So we're staying in Ghana.
Hello everyone, my name is Atso Ben Siencho, co-founder of Revision Prep. Picture this, a 9th grader in Ghana studying for the Basic Education Certificate Examination, the National Senior High School Entrance Exam. Along with other students, he buys books to study for his exam using pure rote memorization, which Ghanaians call chew, pour, pass, and forget. But here's the problem. When students study using this method of exam preparation, they're not, when students study for this exam using this method of exam preparation, they're not fully prepared because they don't fully understand the concepts behind the questions. When they go into exams and they're faced with questions that are slightly variated, they become confused because they don't fully understand the concept behind the question. So as a result of this, there are very dismal numbers of students who pass this exam. Last 2 years, about 400,000 students took the exam, but less than half of them passed, 47%, as you can see up there. And when students fail this exam, they either retake it the next year or they drop out of school completely. So here we are at Revision Prep. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise the number of students who pass this BC exam and get students to understand the conceptual understanding behind these questions. And yes, this is how we're going to do it, Revision Prep. Revision Prep is a gamified online social learning tool that will transform exam preparation in Ghana. And here are some of our features. We have about 7,200 questions on the website, which are sourced from BBC archives, and we have qualified teachers also setting questions from their own notes, from their own mock exams they give students. We have both timed and untimed tests, so students can practice their own pace the untimed tests. And to replicate BC exam work, we have time tests. Students get 40 minutes for Section A, which is the objectives, and 60 minutes for Section B, which is the subjective part. We have detailed explanations on our website. As I was saying, we have teachers who look at these questions and provide good answers to them. Here's an example of this is what the current revision material looks like, and we have revision preps. You have a math question right here. You can read the question, but what we're trying to do is fully explain the question and all the answers, so the kids know why, for example, A is wrong, why A is correct, and why B, C, and D are wrong. So by going through this, they're not just learning one thing. They're learning about four questions, 4 concepts by answering one question. Here's another question. We have a comparison we have from current exam material and what Revision Prep offers to students. You saw on the previous slide progress tracker. So we have kids. We have kids who can look at their study patterns, see what areas they're failing in, what they need to work on. All that's included in our website. One other feature we're working on is gamification, which is the employment of game design elements on a non-game environment. So the main ones we're using are personalized fast feedback, experience points, and leaderboards. And personalized fast feedback, we have the website giving you feedback on your individual performance. So is Otto getting enough understanding by answering these questions? Is he not? Experience points, while you're going through the answering questions, you're gaining points. Just like a game like, think of Temple Run. You're running, you're collecting coins, pretty much the same concept. All this builds up to your leaderboard, so just to foster friendly competition between students, we have rankings so students can see how well they're doing. Maybe Otto is beating Ifra wants to she wants to be first in class, whatever. So she's going to try to answer more questions correctly and get more points for revision prep. Okay, so what have we accomplished so far? I go to school at Hobart William Smith Colleges in Geneva, New York, and I won a pitch competition just around this time last year for $10,000. That money went to building our website, reviewprep.com. Please check it out. We have about, as I said, 7,200 questions on there. Both Section A and Section B, which source from teachers' BC archives. We started a pilot program at the end of in September last year. So we're in 2 schools right now with about 130 students. We charge students a subscription fee of $25 to use all the questions we have. So they have access to all these questions. We have an adoption rate of 75%. And next year's plan is to move into more schools after we do our hard launch. Move to more schools and have about 2,000 students on it. Desired long-term impact, we aim to transform the study culture, especially in exam preparation with students starting in Ghana and eventually in whole of Africa, and be accessible to at least 80% of JHS students over the next 5 years. Adoption rate, as I mentioned previously, is 75%, but we like to maintain that and improve that, hopefully to 100% over the next 5 years as well. We plan to reach the larger population of Ghanaians who don't have access to the internet. We're trying to do this through partnerships. So we're currently talking with companies like Internet.org via Airtel in Ghana. We have Pencils of Promise who have been having conversations with, who are trying to integrate, again, tech into the study culture of the masses. And students can pay for this through more money. So, of course, with the telcos, we're planning to get them on board as well. We plan to expand to senior high schools over the next 2 years. Senior high schools for Ghanaians, for kids to study for the WASSCE exam, the Staff Grade Senior Secondary School exam. Also, of course, expand to other African countries that use WACS in the system, mainly Ghana, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Nigeria.
Axel, we have to cut you off.
Oh, sure.
Questions.
All right, questions, please? Thank you.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Don't be nervous. Chew. $25 for the registration, right?
Yes.
For how long?
Yes. That will take you throughout the year. And usually kids start preparing for this exam in grade 6. So you pay $25 when you're in grade 6. Obviously, the next year is going to be a lower fee till you get to grade 9.
How much is it in CDs? Do you think that
75?
afford it?
About 75 CDs. That's what we used in September.
It's affordable for the average Ghanaian?
Yes, it's affordable. I believe it is.
In your written materials, you describe that there is a very high market share competitor that publishes past exam questions. Yes. Why do you think they're not taking this approach with their customer base?
I feel like from my experience with my partner going through this, we spent a lot of time, it's a lot of work to get teachers to produce quality material that can be verified by other examiners. It's a ton of time. It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of communication. Personally, I think that's why they avoid that. Again, in their printing paper, that's going to be a lot of paper to print and get all this in book form. So if you ask me, that's what I say it is, yes.
You talked a lot about adoption rates and conversion rates. I mean, do you have any statistics, or what are your targets for kind of the actual academic impact of this?
Okay, right now, as I mentioned, we're in 2 schools. They're still using it. We have kids who are giving us feedback, but we don't have enough right now to give a concrete number of. You have 75 adoption rate, but how is that going to translate into their actual exam? The exam is in June, so we have we sent out surveys trying to compare what their scores before they started using revision prep, and now they're using it after. We have mock exams throughout before the exam, so that's what we're gonna like kind of base it off. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more team to go. Thank you for staying through. My stomach's rumbling as well, but we have a lunch for you pretty soon. We'd like to introduce Africa 360. One thing to say before we actually do that, I know some of you have questions that you want to ask. We've not been able to take audience questions. All of the finalists will be here. They have to go to lunch as well. Please find them and ask your questions and get them answered.
Okay. Thank you. I got it. everyone. Let's get right into it so we can show you how Africa 360 brings a solution to Africa. Now, it's a different type of solution, so please keep an open mind. Well, let's lay out the problem first. Meet my cousin, Mohamed Dion. Mohamed is a proud and talented African actor and filmmaker. Mohamed made Mafetiga, Fulani for Peanut Butter Stew. His second project is a documentary which focuses on an issue that every single African in the diaspora has, which is feeling like a stranger at home. But there's a problem. And the problem is, how does Mohamed make enough money from Mafetiga to be able to reinvest in his documentary? How does he make sure to reach the maximum number of viewers so that he can attract potential investors? Let's keep that in mind and move on to our second problem. With these beautiful pictures of African youth evolving while staying connected through social media. Even a little too much, because that last picture right there seems to me like it's at a wedding. But let's keep it in mind. This is happening. It is a new reality of Africa, and we cannot ignore it. Did you know that the internet penetration rate in Africa in 2014 was of 26%, with over 300 million active users on the internet, and 78% of that is used for social media. So it's a given. We have a presence, an African presence online. Now, while online, we do make videos. We make funny ones, random ones, and some more funny ones. And most of the videos are from young African men and women, directed mostly to other Africans. So comedians, preachers, or even cooks trying to make videos to show the fake Africans how to make the real African meals, like the peanut butter stew, jollof rice, you know the list. But it's out there, but there's still a problem, and that is how many searches on how many different platforms do I need to go through to be able to get to the videos I want to see? And that's the problem which we're trying to solve here. We have the solution, which is Africa 360, or the premier African digital media platform in the making. This is a platform where all of the 300 million plus active internet users can turn to for videos solely focused on Africa, where filmmakers can come and know to have their targeted audience all there in one place. This is a place where a Nathan in Ghana can stay up to date with what a Fanta can be doing in Guinea, and hopefully they can inspire each other and just evolve while still learning. This is a platform where filmmakers can come and actually monetize their work on their own term. This is about empowering youth, talent, empowering Africa. And now Nathan will tell you how we plan on doing that.
Thank you, Fanta. So we actually had our alpha release in October. My co-founder and I met last year at Harvard Business Conference at Harvard Square at IHOP and pitched this idea, and we decided to start working on it. So after various mock-ups and testing, we decided to basically test the market before we go into full development. And we found out that over a period of 3 months, we had over 11,000 unique followers across social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, we had over 7,000 views on our alpha version from over 3,000 unique visits and users. So we currently are in beta version, building a robust social media platform. We're in partnership with Microsoft BizSpark, leveraging the Microsoft Azure network for the video cloud to stream high-quality HD videos. And presently, we are we have a mobile responsive website. Next phase, we're looking to create a mobile version, because internet penetration is higher on mobile devices than on desktops and laptops. So we're rolling out an Android version very soon, and we're looking to actually be live with that by the summer.
Thank you, Nathan. So before we let you go off thinking these crazy people and their crazy ideas, let us show you where madness took some of our predecessors. YouTube was created in 2005 and now valued about $30 billion. Same thing, Vimeo, created in 2005 and now over 500 million. And closer to us, To-Do.com in China, with the same market segmentation strategy, was able to get out of the market, bought at $1 billion after 7 years of operation and 200 million followers, which is at reach for us. So Africa 360 is the next, and we feel like the African market is ready for this now. So if you believe that the global community of Africa, with over a billion people, is ready to have its own video streaming platform, join us. Thank you.